What's good, everybody out there on YouTube? This is your man Hastags dropping some odd frog on this mic. Today we're going to be talking about Sonic Frontiers, more specifically why you really aren't replaying the game or why many people in the community aren't replaying the game outside of the content updates. I think there's really two main reasons why, and we'll be discussing that in this video. But recently I've been playing Sonic Frontiers because the updates have dropped. I skipped update 1 and then update 2 came out and I played it shortly thereafter, actually on stream. So if you subscribe and hit the notification bell, you wouldn't miss those streams. But on a realer note, I really have been enjoying the game. And because I've been playing more Sonic Frontiers, it's made me think about stuff at the beginning of the year and at the end of last year where people were talking about how they really weren't enjoying their replays of Sonic Frontiers. Now, part of that I think is because people just don't really like the game. And I'm not saying that, the community at large, I'm saying the people who have become really vocal and really against Frontiers. I mean, people have seen it on Twitter. There's been a complete 180 on Frontiers to some degree where a lot of people are like, I hate this game. And I think it's really because Sonic Frontiers is a lot different than every other Sonic game that we've gotten prior. First of all, the open world / hub segments are more expansive and are at the forefront of the game's core gameplay loop, whereas in previous games, those were basically filler areas. Many Sonic fans asked for things like an open world, but I don't think they really wanted that. And I'll talk about that in my first major point, but Sonic games have never really been super open-ended. They're linear experiences. Yes, they have branching paths, etc., but they are linear games in nature. You go from point A to point B, and that is the main gameplay loop. Whereas in Sonic Frontiers, you have the option to go around the whole map before you move on to the next thing. And I don't think fans are really ready for that. There are traditional stages here, yes, but they take a back seat to the core open zone gameplay that we see in Frontiers. But this leads me into my first point, and that I think a lot of people just don't play a ton of other games. And I don't mean this in a punching down way. I mean this in that a lot of Sonic fans haven't experienced open world games to this degree, and because of that, they don't realize that they're experiencing something called open world fatigue. I mean, I see a ton of Sonic fans go off about comparing Sonic to other Sonic games like Sonic Frontiers. So everybody wants to talk about Sonic Unleashed nowadays, and then Sonic Adventure 1 and 2, but nobody ever really compares Sonic to anything outside of the franchise. Now, don't get me wrong, I think it is a proper thing to compare Sonic within its own franchise. That's, logical. But people don't think about what other game franchises are doing outside of Sonic, and I never really see people discuss that as it relates to Sonic exploring new ideas and new territories with the franchise. And like I said, a lot of people aren't experiencing some of the things that come with Sonic basically changing genres. And that biggest thing is, like I said, open world fatigue, which is my second point. Open world fatigue comes either when you play an open world game too much, basically you run out of content, or the game presents you with too much content and it feels like it never ends. Now, don't get me wrong, there are games out there that don't really suffer from it. I mean, I can think of Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom off of the top of my head. I don't think I'll ever get tired of those games. But at the end of the day, like 99.99% of open world games have this. A perfect example I can give you is Horizon Forbidden West. I feel like I'm always shitting on this game. The game is good, but it really does suffer from this. They put so much content in front of the player that it feels like it's almost impossible to really complete any of it. Because I feel like I'm chipping away to get to the diamonds, but never really getting to the diamonds, if you get what I mean. There's so much content there that none of it really feels as impactful as it should, which Sonic Frontiers actually doesn't suffer from. It suffers from the issue of players getting through the content too quickly. Now, don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with the game being, on the shorter side. I actually kind of prefer that, especially in a day and age where every game feels like it has to be 20 to 40 hours, and I work a 40-hour job, if even that. Sometimes I'm working anywhere from 60 to 80 hours a week. So when I can get a chance to game, yeah, I'm gonna try to get that, 1 hour, 30 minutes in, and hopefully I can make some progress in my game. But on a realer note, if you take at least the way day 1 completion and day 1 progress was recorded, you can get through all of that content in Sonic Frontiers within about 20 to 30 hours. This isn't a slight against the game. The game is just, I don't want to say super short, but in the grand scheme of open world games, and when it comes to like completion and stuff, like you can complete the base game in about 15 to 17 hours and then the whole shebang in about 30. I mean, when people are sitting there and playing that game front to back, it seems like a short game in comparison to most open world games, but because it's a Sonic game, it's a lot longer than the standard fare. And when you're continually doing that content, you're gonna run out of stuff to do. Like, let's be real. You're not always going to be able to do something or find something new to do in that world. And while we have things like the individual cyberspace levels, which you can speedrun and stuff like that, they are far and away not the best part about the game, and they're not the core gameplay loop. People want more of that open world style of gameplay. And because they're playing the core portion of the game so much, they're just running out of stuff to do. That's just really what it is. I think if Sonic fans maybe took a break from the game, played other games, specifically outside of the Sonic franchise, you'd probably actually really appreciate more what the game does. Especially those people who either don't like the game because they've run out of stuff to do and got fatigued with it. Now, if you don't like the game, you just don't like the game. There's nothing you can really do about that. But, if you're really just wanting to, scratch that Sonic itch, a game that's really similar to the franchise but does a lot of cool stuff that I think really, it sucks that it's always talked about in comparison to Sonic, but I feel like because it takes so much stuff from Sonic, you can't talk about it without talking about Sonic. It's Spark the Electric Jester, 1, 2, and 3, especially 2 and 3. They're really great 3D platformers. And while they definitely are heavily influenced by the Sonic franchise, they're heavily influenced by a ton of other stuff. You can tell that Lake Peppered put his heart and soul into those games, and I think you should play them if you're looking for something to play besides Sonic Frontiers. But hey, tell me how you feel in that comment section down below. This has been your man Hastags. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. Follow your boy on Twitter at MobShadow100. I might be downloading threads or something, trying that out. But otherwise, you can find me everywhere at MobShadow100 or at Hastags. But hey, remember, Hot Faraga turns to Cold Blue Saga. Chill out some of my other videos. Peace and have a good one.